Let me be clear with you right now. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. I know that hits something deep because too many of you are stuck waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of yourself before you take a step. And while you're waiting, life is moving on without you. Opportunities don't pause because you're not ready. Success doesn't wait for you to feel confident. The only thing that moves the needle is showing up again and again, even when it's uncomfortable. I've watched people with incredible talent never win because they were obsessed with getting it right. And I've watched people with average talent build empires because they refuse to quit. Perfection sounds disciplined, but most of the time it's just fear in a nice suit. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. And that fear keeps you stuck at the starting line, polishing a dream that never gets off the ground. Consistency is different. Consistency is unglamorous. It doesn't feel exciting every day. It doesn't always give you quick results, but it builds something stronger than motivation. It builds momentum, and momentum is what carries you forward when excitement fades, when nobody's cheering, when progress feels slow. Consistency is the decision to keep moving even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. When I was building my business, nothing was perfect. Not the resources, not the timing, not the conditions, but I kept showing up. I kept learning. I kept adjusting. And that's the part people don't talk about. Consistency gives you room to grow. It allows you to make mistakes, to learn from them, to come back sharper the next day. Perfection doesn't teach you anything. Consistency teaches you everything. Too many people quit because they think struggle means they're doing something wrong. Let me tell you the truth. Struggle usually means you're doing something right. It means you're stretching. It means you're learning. It means you're paying the price before you get the reward. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who refuse to stop showing up when it gets hard. Consistency creates momentum when perfection creates delay. That's not just a nice line. It's a hard truth most people learn too late. I've watched so many talented, intelligent, capable people stall their own progress because they were waiting for everything to line up perfectly. The perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect version of themselves. And while they were waiting, someone else with less talent but more consistency passed them by, because success doesn't reward who's most polished. It rewards who keeps moving. Perfection feels productive, but most of the time it's just disguised procrastination. It gives you a reason to wait. It gives you permission to delay. It tells you not yet, you're not ready, even when the truth is you'll never feel completely ready. Life doesn't hand you perfect conditions. Business doesn't either. Neither does growth. Momentum is built by action, not preparation, and action only comes from consistency. Showing up when you don't feel sharp, working when you don't feel motivated, taking the next step even when the whole staircase isn't visible. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. One small action doesn't look impressive. One imperfect day doesn't feel like progress. But stack those days together and something changes. You get better, you get clearer, you get stronger. Your confidence grows because it's backed by evidence. You showed up yesterday and the day before and the day before that. Momentum doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks up on you. One day you look back and realize what used to feel impossible now feels normal. Perfection, on the other hand, keeps resetting the clock. Every time you say, I'll start when it's perfect, you push your future further away. You don't gain experience. You don't gain resilience. You don't gain momentum. You just stay stuck thinking about what could be. And thinking has never changed a life. Action does. Repetition does. Consistency does. When you're consistent, you give yourself permission to be human, to make mistakes, to adjust, to learn on the move. Perfection doesn't allow that. Perfection demands flawlessness before progress, and that standard shuts most people down before they even begin. Consistency says, just show up today, not forever, not for the rest of your life, just today, and then tomorrow you do it again. That's manageable. That's realistic. That's how real progress is built. Momentum also changes how the world responds to you. When people see you moving consistently, they start taking you seriously. Opportunities show up differently. Doors open faster, not because you're perfect, but because you're reliable, because you're in motion, because you've proven you're not just talking. Momentum attracts momentum, but it only starts once you stop waiting for perfection and start committing to consistency. There were plenty of days early on when I didn't have clarity, plenty of moments when the plan wasn't solid, plenty of times when things didn't work the way I expected. But I kept moving. I adjusted while moving. I learned while moving. That's how momentum is born. You don't figure everything out first and then act. You act, you learn, you refine, and the clarity comes later. Waiting for perfection keeps you stuck in theory. Consistency puts you in reality. And here's the part most people overlook. Consistency builds discipline, and discipline outlasts motivation. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. Discipline is a decision. Consistency trains your mind to work even when motivation disappears. That's when momentum really kicks. When you no longer rely on feeling inspired to take action, you just do what needs to be done because that's who you've trained yourself to be. Every big win you admire was built on boring, repetitive, uncelebrated days. Showing up daily matters more than getting it right once. That truth goes against everything people like to believe about success. We celebrate big wins, breakthrough moments, and overnight success stories, but we rarely talk about the quiet discipline behind them. One perfect performance doesn't change a life. One great idea doesn't build a future. What actually creates transformation is the decision to show up every single day, especially on the days when you don't feel ready, confident, or motivated. Because real success isn't built on moments, it's built on habits. Anyone can have one good day. Anyone can feel inspired once, but inspiration fades, energy drops, and life gets heavy. That's where daily commitment separates those who grow from those who stall. When you show up daily, you stop relying on motivation and start relying on discipline. You train yourself to move forward even when excitement disappears. And that's important because motivation is emotional, but discipline is dependable. Discipline keeps you moving when nothing else will. Daily effort also builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up, you prove that you're someone who follows through. That self-trust is powerful. It strengthens your confidence more than praise ever could. You don't need to tell yourself you're capable. You see it in your actions. You showed up yesterday. You showed up today. That consistency becomes evidence, and evidence builds belief. Over time, that belief changes how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you approach challenges. Getting it right once might impress people, but showing up daily changes you. It sharpens your skills. It deepens your understanding. It turns uncertainty into clarity. You don't need to know everything at the start. You learn by doing. Each day you show up, you make small adjustments. You improve little by little. Those small improvements stack up until one day people call it talent, when in reality it was repetition. Daily showing up also removes fear. Fear survives in inactivity. The more you hesitate, the louder it gets. But when you show up consistently, fear loses its grip. You become familiar with discomfort. You stop being intimidated by failure because you've already survived it multiple times. Showing up daily teaches you that setbacks aren't the end. They're part of the process. You stop seeing mistakes as proof you're not good enough and start seeing them as feedback. And here's the part people overlook. Showing up daily builds momentum that protects you from quitting. When something becomes part of your routine, it stops feeling optional. You don't debate whether to do it, you just do it. That routine becomes an anchor when life gets chaotic. When motivation drops, when results slow down, when doubt creeps in, your habit carries you forward. That's how people stay in the game long enough to win. You don't need a perfect plan to show up today. You don't need perfect confidence to take the next step. You don't need perfect timing to do what matters. You just need the willingness to show up again. Progress doesn't come from dramatic leaps. It comes from steady steps. And those steps taken daily, quietly transform your life. So stop waiting for the moment you feel ready. Stop measuring your worth by one performance or one result. Measure it by your commitment to keep showing up day after day, step after step. Because the people who change their lives aren't the ones who got it right once. They're the ones who refused to stop showing up, even when no one was. Watching, even when results were slow, even when the journey tested their patience. And that daily commitment doesn't just build success. It builds a version of you strong enough to handle it. And when you understand that, everything shifts. You stop chasing quick validation and start building long-term strength. You stop measuring progress by applause and start measuring it by effort. You realize that success isn't something you stumble into on your best day. It's something you earn on your hardest ones. The days when you're tired, the days when nothing seems to move, the days when quitting feels logical, those are the days that decide your future. This is where most people fall off, not because they aren't capable, but because they underestimate the power of staying in it. They think missing a day doesn't matter. They think slowing down won't cost them anything. But momentum is fragile. It grows when you protect it, and it disappears when you neglect it. The people who win understand that showing up is a non-negotiable. They don't wait to feel inspired. They don't wait to feel confident. They act first and the confidence follows. You don't need massive leaps to change your life. You need small, repeatable actions done with commitment. That's how discipline is built. That's how self-respect is earned. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you're shaping your identity. You're becoming someone who can be trusted with goals, with responsibility, with pressure. And once you become that person, success stops feeling distant. It starts feeling inevitable. One day you'll look back and realize it wasn't talent that carried you forward. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was the quiet decision to keep going when no one was watching and no one was cheering. That decision compounds. It changes how you think, how you move, how you see yourself. And eventually the results catch up. So if you're waiting for permission, this is it. If you're waiting for confidence, build it through action. If you're waiting for the perfect moment, understand that it doesn't exist. What exists is today. What exists is the choice in front of you right now. Show up, do the work, do it again tomorrow, and keep doing it until the version of you that once doubted becomes the proof that consistency always wins.